So the inside, this is the inside to the book of Secrets of Drawing. And the book is published by North Light Books, Cincinnati, Ohio. Goes over basic, this page here gives basic reference of some of the tools that he may cover in the book. Does talk about the differences of forms of graphite pencils. Here are some charts of the 6H to B6. Talks about the techniques as far as reducing or removal of charcoal or graphite versus layering it on. Talks about just doing quick sketches using the flat edge of the pencil. There's a lot of samples in as far as for the characteristics of the mediums that you can use. Briefly goes over techniques for each of the pieces, but when you're going to go into techniques, you would think you get something more than just one paragraph of information. That's the part that I kind of find little robbed, as far as, granted it's $12 for a book, which isn't that bad compared to some of the other books I've bought, but when you want to learn, when you're at my level and you want to learn techniques, you'd hope for more information than just one paragraph. Talking about pastels, here's using a Tortillon with a pastel. Talks about angles of using the pastels. So he does go over quite a bit of the mediums, which is great. But again, it's like each part, when you get to these techniques, you would hope for something more. But definitely goes over all the types of mediums. I really like the information you gave about the bamboo pen. These tips are pens that are made from slender sticks of bamboo. The bamboo is sharpened to a point and split, creating a reservoir for the ink. That's pretty much about it. So just like I said, there is like when you can get that little information, it's like, okay, bamboo pen. Well, isn't there anything more involved with the bamboo pen? Does it hold ink very well? Does the split at the end, does it cause any friction to the paper? Does it glide over the paper well? Is it better to use certain, since it's a bamboo pen, do you want to use rice paper? It's just, those are the parts that leaves you, the artist, to have to figure out yourself. He has the paper information, which is good. Watercolor paper, I do like the way how it talks about brief little notes here of cold press and hot press, information that I really didn't know about watercolor paper. More about the types of boards, matte, Bristol, watercolor boards. Covers briefly the line and tone. You can see here where just like cross hatches you can achieve tone, and here's more of a blended technique. Contour lines, hard lines, more contour lines. Does give a brief description on how to hold your fountain pen effectively, and then talks more about the lines, more on the contour lines. Really not values, they're pretty good. Positive and negative shapes, it's really not something that a lot of beginning artists will think about, as far as for how positive and negative shapes actually take space on your paper and how to plan for it. So it does give a brief description on that, so that would help a a beginning artist. Lost and Found Edges is actually a particular great section where the artist explains that you don't really have like a defining hard edge like you would like in comic books or line art. So the transition is really smooth. Aesthetic marks, that was kind of something good to read. Basically, like an aesthetic mark could be like maybe a pre-rough lines you do in your drawing, but you don't take them out. You leave them in there, and it can add characteristics to your drawing. Combining lines and tones. Style. I definitely would like to had. Style was the part where I was thumbing through the book. I was hoping that there really was going to be more information on style and proportions. Basically, you're going to find basics and maybe advanced. Well, pretty much every artist book on how to draw is going to cover perspective and proportions. That's how important it is. So, just about every art book I have purchased covers perspective and proportion. Like I said, that is how important it is. If you don't have their perspective, proportion, and he also talks how like the point of view, your stuff's gonna not look right unless you're intentionally trying to do it. I mean, there is such a thing as drawing things out of perspective to intentionally draw the viewer's eye. So he'll cover over the depth of show perspective, 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. Again, this is the basic staples. This is the basic staple of any art book on how to draw. And it is. Talks about proportions, talking about pre-hatched lines. Like here he shows a little sample of like just doing quick pre-hatched lines to figure out the form for the final piece. Grids. Using the visuals for landmarks, precising your subjects. Drawings as preliminary studies to finish art. Now this part here is was more advantageous for me at my level, talking about where he was doing preliminary studies of a piece and then doing finished artwork and sketching to solve problems. Talks about reference sketches for later artwork, and then drawing as a finished art. This part here is actually kind of good. Talks about where, you know, like for one artist, his artwork would be complete for him, and someone who's viewing that artist's artwork might think the work is incomplete. Again, that's how perspective really plays in to the viewer who is looking at the artwork. Same regards to drawings as finished art, where he explains for an artist where he does a certain piece of artwork, he may be happy with it and call it complete, but another artist or another critic who's looking at the artwork might think it's not finished. Then talks about matting. I guess matting isn't really a great secret as far as for drawing, but could be part of your expression too as an artist, how you mat it. And then talks about framing and then conclusion of the piece. So here we go. I guess the information on when it was printed is in the back. Copyright of 2011 by Craig Nelson, and it is manufactured in the USA, so that's a good thing to hear. So I guess we can read that skirt about Craig Nelson. Graduated with distinction from Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles, California in 1970. He began teaching in 1974 and currently teaches painting and drawing at the Academy Art College of San Francisco, where he is Department Director of Fine Art. His work has appeared on many record album covers for Capitol Records, Sony, and MGM. He has also painted many portraits for various stars, including Natalie Cole, Neil Diamond, Rick Nelson, Sammy Davis Jr., and Loretta Lynn. Craig has won over 200 awards of excellence in various national shows, including being selected for the Arts of the Parks competition for the last 8 years. His work can be found in several galleries throughout the United States and continues to appear in expeditions both nationally and internationally. His paintings also appear in the book Art from Parks, North Light Books, in quote brackets here. Craig is also a member of Oil Painters of America, the American Society of Portrait Artists, and signature member of California Art Club. He resides in Northern California with his wife and 3 children. So there you go. Is the book worth $12.99? Yeah, no. It's again, it's. I come from the perspective where I've already read quite a few books, so I would say I'm not the beginner. So would this be a good book for a beginner? Definitely, because it's going to cover every basic principles of drawing. So it's good for the basics. Like I said, covers the tools nicely, gives you basic principles of the graphites. Doesn't really cover the issue like with graphites. If you press down, I mean, if you give it too much of a coverage, you get that shine. But it doesn't really warn you about that. So that's just something that you as an artist would have to figure out. Well, again, I would say that this book here is a good buy for the beginner, which is probably what this book was geared to. For a person who's probably been drawing for a while, you might not get a whole lot out of it. Again, I was kind of thinking Secrets of Drawing. I was thinking more it'd be on the advanced level, like it was directed towards a person who's been drawing for a while. But anyways, definitely check out Craig Nelson's artwork. There's a lot of pictures that you can see. You can just Google it. He's got some wonderful artwork out there. I actually Googled his artwork first before I bought the book, and thought it'd be great to come back and then read the book. But now that I've kind of read through it, there's this really very minimal information. I did like the information I got about the paper. Pretty much the end part where he's talking about the preliminary studies and sketching to solve problems, and where he talks about where drawings finish art, where again, like I had covered, so if you're a beginning artist, definitely there's a lot of basic information in here that you need to know that can help you. If you're more of an advanced artist, I would say you could probably skip this book, because if you're at that point, you've probably experimented with a lot of other stuff and possibly even have purchased some other books prior to this. So, Craig Nelson, Secrets of Drawing, start to finish. Great for the beginning artist. Printed by Northern Light Books. And there's a website that you can also go to called artistnetwork.com.